Ag PhD full episodes and more are now available on Acres TV, the newest ag platform connecting you to fields of information. Look for us on watchacrestv.com.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about weed control in lawns.
Well, you want to enjoy your lawn, and everybody's level of enjoyment's a little different. I talk to people that say, you know what, I like seeing some clover out in my lawn. I think it's great. It produces its own nitrogen. That's wonderful for the environment. I think it's a great thing. Personally, I don't want to see anything out there but my lawn grass. That's it. So depending on what you want in your lawn, if something's out there that you don't want, that is a weed. So if you have to stop weeds in your lawn, there's some great ways you can do that.
One of the most popular pre-emerge herbicides is actually the active ingredient pendimethalin. That's the same thing as we use in soybeans, Prowl. So if you want to do that, you certainly can real early in the spring. And you might say, well, wait a second, that kills grass. Look, when we're talking Kentucky bluegrass or some of these different grasses that are out in lawns, they are tough perennial grasses. With pendimethalin, if you're after some annual grasses, that's what it will control. So that would be the focus, and that would be the purpose of spraying some pendimethalin early.
All right, that's one good option. Then a little bit later, you could come back with something like Drive to take out crabgrass just as it's starting to germinate. That's usually in the fairly early spring. About the time the lilacs start blooming in our area is the time we try and hit it.
What we get the most questions about in lawns is really broadleaf weeds, and our number one recommendation is always Freelex. That's just the new 2,4-D that doesn't volatilize like the old 2,4-D did.
Well, 2,4-D has been used in many of the premixes that you're going to see for lawns for years, and it's often the 2,4-D amine formulation or sometimes the 2,4-D ester formulation. The problem with both of those is they can volatilize and move. So if you're spraying your lawn but you got flowers or a vegetable garden right next to it, sometimes it can ding up the vegetables or the flowers.
So in other words, quit going to the hardware store and buying the watered down old 2,4-D. It's going to cause issues all over the place and not kill the weeds very well. Get the good stuff, get Freelex.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see the lawn industry take this active ingredient, 2,4-D choline, and put it in a bunch of these premixes. It is fantastic. It's a significant upgrade. All right, Brad, now we've got some tough weeds out there like dandelion, for example, that start in the fall, and in the spring, it's got a deep root to it. A light rate of 2,4-D is just not going to take that thing out.
No, you have to use the full rate of Freelex, and then it'll be fine. It's not going to be perfect, but at least it's going to ding it up. Then you got to spray again. You might have to spray another time. But I would say a lot of people now are using mesotrione or tenacity, and well, that's pretty good on a lot of things. Even has a little activity on crabgrass. It's not as good as Freelex when it comes to dandelions.
Okay, the other thing you need to keep in mind with weed control in your lawns: don't cut your grass so short, and fertilize well. If you've got a good, thick, healthy lawn, it will naturally choke out weeds. So that's a couple things you can do that aren't herbicide related to try and stop weeds in your lawn.
All right, we haven't talked about our weed of the week yet. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the show. The control methods will be a little bit different than what we just talked about in lawns. Can you identify this week's weed of the week?